Hi, this is Math 2, Unit 10, Lesson 4, Worksheet K, looking at some homework solutions for the numbers right here. There's a whole bunch of them today, I know, but it won't take us too long. So here we go. First of all, we're supposed to find the value of each expression. The first one's been started for us, and what you can see is they want you to take this number and break it apart into smaller components so that you can start to figure out what the solution might be. So if I take a number like 64, for example, and I break that apart, I might recognize that it is 8 times 8, which is fantastic. I might know that 8 and 8 is 4 times 2, and this is also 4 times 2. Now I could combine those 2's together because 2 times 2 is actually 4. And at this point, what I have is I have a 4, and a 4, and a 4. And what I'm trying to do with a cube root is look for one number that I can multiply to itself 3 times to come up with 64. And so in this case here, 4 cubed is what I have beneath the radical, and it's a cubic radical. So these are going to basically cancel one another out, and I'm left with the answer of just 4. Okay? So that's kind of the idea there, is to take the number, break it apart, and start to pull things out of it. When I look at number 6, it's very similar to that, except now I have 256, kind of a big number. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it up here. So 256, initially you might want to break it up into parts, into half. So maybe you do 2 and 128. Maybe you break 128 into half, and that becomes 2 and 64. At this point, I recognize that 64, we just did that in the previous problem, is actually going to be what? 3 4s. So it's a 4 and a 4 and a 4. So I'm doing a little shortcut there just because we did that problem in number 3 just a moment ago. Now I also can tell then that 2 and 2 combine together to make what? Another 4. And in this case, I'm looking for a radical with a 4 there, which means I'm looking for a number that I can multiply together by itself 4 times to come up with 256. So in this case, 4 to the 4th and the 4th root of that, those cancel, and I'm also left with just 4. Okay, let's move over to the next section. It says write each expression in radical form. The first one has been started for you. The key thing here, this is why it's important, is to remember that when I have a fraction like that for my exponent, that the top number is the exponent value and the bottom number is going to be my radical value. So what that means is that this one becomes x to the first, that's my exponent, x to the first, and my radical in this case here is a root 2, it's just a regular root like that. They went ahead and wrote the 2 there. You don't need to write the 2 if it's a radical, just like that. And we could leave it as such. Okay? So let's slide down to number 2 real quick just because it's similar. I have here, the top value is my exponent, the bottom value is my radical. Okay? So that tells me I'm going to have x to the second power, that's my exponent, and my radical will be a root 3 because of the 3 right there in the 2/3. Okay? Let's look at number 8 over here. For number 8, again, there are 2 parts. So we're going to take this half and we're going to put it with the 25 and we're going to put it with the x squared. Okay, so 2 things. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it as 2 different problems almost and break it apart into separate pieces. So I have 25 to the half, and I also have x squared to the half. Okay, so I have 2 parts there. Again, the top number is my exponent, the bottom number is my radical. So this means I actually have 25 to the first power, and the radical is a 2, so I have the square root of 25 for this portion. Let's just keep working down here. The square root of 25 happens to be 5. Okay, so we're good with that. Here we have x squared to the first, so it's still just the 1, and my radical is 2, and again, the square root of a squared number is going to be just the number. So I end up with x, so my solution is to multiply together is 5x for number 8. Number 15, I wanted to do this one just because you just need to remember that over here, I had to distribute the half to both parts because of the parentheses. On number 10, these are separate pieces in a sense. Just they're multiplied together, but the 3/4 is attached only to the x. Okay? So the 15 is just by itself. I don't do anything to the 15. All I'm going to play with is the x to the 3/4. Again, the top number is my exponent, so I'm going to do x to the third, and this is going to be a root 4 because of the 4 on the bottom there. Alright, moving down, number 13. Same idea, now we're going to go back the other way. So this one has, essentially, there is a 1 right there next to the x. It's hard to see, sorry about that. Zoom in a bit. There we go. So what we do is we say this is really going to be x to the, there's my exponent, and my root is a 3 to the 1/3 power. That's how that breaks apart. For number 15, similar idea, except I have two pieces here. I have a 16 and an a. So we can actually rewrite this as root 16 times root a. So break it apart there. Root 16, or the square root of 16, is 4. And then a is, that's a 1, the first power, and it's a root 2, becomes a 1/2. So a to the half power. Same thing over here. I have two parts, like so. So I actually have the cube root of 125 times the cube root of d squared. Okay? Well, 5 times 5 is 25. And 25 is 5 times 5. So I end up with 3 5s, which is perfect. So the cube root of 125 is actually 5. That's good. Now what's left over here is I have d to the second power and the cube root, so I have d to the 2/3. Or written out this way, 5d 2/3. Alright, let's flip it over to the back side. The numbers 19, 20, 19, 21, 23. Okay. Remember from before, if we had something like x to the first times x to the third, we're going to add the radicals, exponents together to come up with a final answer, x to the fourth. We're going to do the same thing with this, even though they are fractions. So that means we're going to take x to the third plus x to the 2/3, and 1/3 plus 2/3 equals 1. So really what we're left with in the end is x to the first power, or just simply x. Number 21, something similar here, except we have to do some distributing. Right? I'm going to put the 1/3 with the a and the 1/3 with the b, and this 1/3 already is with that b, and then I'm going to combine things. So let's do this in parts here. First we have a to the 1/3, and then we have times b to the 1/3, and then I already have a b to the 1/3. Alright, so I distributed the 1/3 of the a to the b, and I brought that one down. Now I can combine things that have the similar bases. So I have a to the 1/3 times b to the 1 plus 1 is 2, 2/3. Now I'm not done. I want to put it in radical form. So this becomes a to the first power, root 3, times, well, and I could do times b to the squared to root 3. Since they share the same root, I can actually just combine them into one thing, and I could do root 3 of ab squared. So since they were the same root there, I can go ahead and do that. Okay? And number 23, let's move down. Sorry, make sure you got that answer there. Root 3 ab squared. And number 23, our last one here. We have two. We're going to put it in exponential form, so we're going to go back to the other way. So this is 2 times a to the 1/3 power plus 3 times a to the 1/3 power. And I'm going to go ahead and add these together. So 2a 1/3 plus 3a 1/3 becomes 5a to the 1/3 power. And that's it. All right, hope that helps you get started a little bit on your homework. Have a good day.